Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into a frankly shocking paradox from 2010. Picture this: an apex predator kills an expert trainer, and a massive corporation points the finger of blame at a hair tie. I mean, it sounds completely absurd, right? But to figure out how this actually happened, we really have to look closely at the facts, the timeline, and the science behind the scenes.
Blamed for wearing a ponytail. That was SeaWorld's actual initial response to the horrifying events of February 24th, 2010. On that day, senior trainer Don Brancheau, literally one of the park's most experienced professionals, was grabbed by an orca, pulled into the water, and killed. And this didn't happen in isolation, It happened right in front of a live, terrifying audience. Yet, the immediate explanation given to the public was that she put herself in danger simply by wearing her hair in a ponytail near the water. Part 1. The live audience tragedy, February 24th, 2010. So, to understand how this catastrophic event occurred on that February day, we absolutely have to look past those initial excuses. Now, 3. That is a devastating number, because Dawn Branchaw's death was not some unpredictable, isolated incident. She was actually the third human fatality associated with this specific orca, Tilikum. A ponytail was the excuse given for why this animal had killed 3 different people. To figure out how we even got to number 3, we need to go right back to the beginning. Part 2, Captured and Broken, The Origins of Trauma. Let's rewind the clock all the way back to 1983, because what the evidence really shows us is that Tilikum wasn't born a monster. He was systematically broken by his environment. He was captured from the wild near Iceland when he was only 2 years old. That means he was a baby, still fully dependent on his mother when he was taken. He was then sold to a Canadian marine park and kept in a tank so incredibly small that he could barely even turn around. For years, he was relentlessly bullied and physically raked by the 2 dominant females he was confined with. He was left with absolutely no escape, no mental stimulation, and no family. This early trauma psychologically destroyed him long before SeaWorld ever even bought him. Something inside his mind had already broken. Part 3. A trail of warnings. Ignored red flags. So this wasn't just a sudden snap, right? It was a decades-long buildup of serious warnings. The timeline kicks off with his capture in 1983. Then, we hit 1991. Tilikum and 2 other orcas drowned a trainer named Kelty Byrne after she slipped into their pool. That was the first death. But SeaWorld bought him anyway. Fast forward to 1999. A man who had secretly hidden in the park after closing was found dead the next morning, literally draped across Tilikum's back. SeaWorld publicly called this an accident, and despite these 2 incredibly severe incidents, trainers were still being put in the water, which led directly to the tragedy in 2010 when Dawn Brancheau was killed. Part 4. The corporate cover-up, public versus internal knowledge. Okay, let's dive into the most glaring discrepancy of this entire investigation: what the corporation told the public versus what their own internal documents prove they actually knew. On one hand, you have the public statement blaming one of their most experienced trainers for wearing a ponytail, but on the other hand, you have the contrasting reality of their internal documents. Those documents reveal that SeaWorld had officially classified Tilikum as a high-risk animal immediately following that very first death back in 1991. They knew exactly how dangerous he was, yet they put trainers back in the water with him anyway, and then attempted to blame the victim's hairstyle when the inevitable actually happened. Part 5. The Science of Captivity, a Broken Mind. Now, to truly grasp why these tragedies occurred, we have to look past corporate policy and examine the actual biology here. The part of the brain that processes emotion in orcas is actually far more developed than it is in human beings. Because they process emotions so deeply and complexly, captivity causes them measurable psychological damage. Tilikum suffered immense, scientifically measurable psychological trauma from 2 decades of confinement. He wasn't a monster. He was a highly intelligent, deeply emotional creature who was completely psychologically destroyed by his environment. Tragically, Tilikum's story ended exactly where it spent the last few decades. He died in 2017, still confined to a tank at SeaWorld. From the time he was a 2-year-old baby ripped away from his mother to his death 34 years later, he never saw the ocean again. He was completely isolated from the natural world he was actually meant to inhabit. As we wrap up this explainer, let's just review the facts we've uncovered. We have a highly intelligent animal with a brain literally built for complex emotion, subjected to decades of confinement and severe early trauma. We have 3 tragic human deaths. We have internal documents officially classifying the animal as high risk. And finally, we have the public claim blaming a woman's ponytail. Taking all of this directly from the source material, I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital question. Who was really responsible for Dawn Brancheau's death? Let us know what you think and comment below.